Santa baby forgot to mention one little thing. A 24-volt Cobalt nailer. Anytime now'd be grand, Santa baby. So hurry to my garage tonight.
Hello and welcome back to On the Workbench. Well, I hope you enjoyed that opening, that little excerpt from my Christmas 2020 video. And what a glorious day it is in March 2022 to be talking about the Kobalt 24-volt nailer. Could it be true? Yes, this is in fact true. This is not an April Fool's Day joke as many of you may have thought it to have been. So, what do we know about the Kobalt 24-volt nailer? Well, there was a photo from an internal Lowe's event that leaked a while back that's done its rounds on the internet. That was one of the first tips on what's been going on with the nailer. And then just today, March 14th, Kobalt confirmed the nailer's existence on Facebook and Instagram. And we can confirm there is at least one nailer on the way for the Kobalt 24-volt lineup. At this point, just to get the facts out of the way for what we know, what we have confirmed is an 18-gauge brad nailer that has been confirmed. There may be other types, models that are unconfirmed. We don't have any info on prices, availability, or otherwise yet. I know we all want to know how much and when can I buy one. And I've got some pictures here coming up that may or may not work their way into the final product. But I'm excited to dig deep inside the tool today because that's the kind of fun content I like to bring you here at On the Workbench. And so we also have some more information about this nailer because thanks to our friends at the Patent Office, we've got some public records filings that are directly attributable to our Kobalt 24-volt nailer that we're going to be talking about. So I got the patent info on the screen here if you're so inclined to want to dig this up yourself. So here it is. In all its glory, here is our confirmed 18-gauge Kobalt 24-volt 18-gauge brad nailer. You'll note it has the ultimate output battery attached to it. This is part of the XTR line of tools. One of the first things that I notice is there's a spot for a belt mount on the side that's visible. Tucked away on the back side, I can actually clearly see a belt hook sticking out. We also have an angled LED light on the sides of the tool. And then we also have a tool-free jam clearance mechanism in the front. Obviously, there's a trigger and there's more going on here, but we'll get to it. So let's look at a schematic of the tool. So this here admittedly looks maybe more like a finish nailer, but this is from the patent filing here. And how do we know this is Kobalt? Well, if we look at that distinctive overmolding grip on the handle there, that's a very Kobalt-like design. And that battery with the side dual press tabs, kind of like the Milwaukee battery, also distinctively Kobalt, and from the same OEM that makes the Kobalt 24-volt line of tools. So we got a lot to unpack here out of these patent filings. I'm going to try to put this in as plain English as I can for it to make sense because some of these patent filings are just a little bit of gibberish and technical jargon that may or may not have been translated well from the original language. So now let's get into it. So here's a cross-section view of the tool, and there's actually a lot more going on here than some of these images initially led on to. So first of all, we've got an air cylinder at the top, and then we've got a transmission and a firing pin right down below there, and then we have our motor back to the rear, and then just above the motor and accessible to the user is a little human interface control panel as well, in addition to the trigger. But digging deeper inside, one of the interesting things that's patented in these filings is what I'll call a bonus air cylinder that can be built into the handle to increase the capacity of the tool. Kind of interesting. Now, just thinking very critically about this junction where these two tanks come together is a spot that I hope the engineers got their computational fluid dynamics and their finite element analysis right, because that conceivably could be a wear point of interest or a spot where it could break potentially. So hopefully that's all designed right, because could be really exciting. And I also think that little spot right there could be the Achilles heel on this. But again, that'll come down to the computational fluid dynamics and the finite element analysis for how well that plays out in real life. Well, digging deeper into the mechanism here, we've got our diagrams of how the tool operates. So we've got a couple different options here, because just digging through the various patents, it's clear that they've thought through multiple ways that this tool could fire, and I suspect this is a large part of what some of the delay has been in getting this tool to market, is trying to come up with a way that does not mess with other manufacturers' patents and can stand alone from the OEM. And so on one option here, we got these right angle meshed gears. Another option has a worm drive. And you'll notice on the left side here, the firing pin is lifted with a single gear, and that's a closed cell ladder, if you will, on the left. And then on the right, we've got kind of more of an open grid, playground style ladder, if you will, where it can be driven by two gears, one on either side. There's a little gear right above where it says dual on the screen that would mesh up and cover the worm drive, so then that firing pin could be lifted by both gears with the worm drive. I suspect the worm drive is going to be for some of the more powerful nailers that might be coming. We also have a third option. In this third option, we've got a planetary gear drive and a slightly different looking firing pin that has the lifting gears on either side of it, and then it's open for the gears on both sides from the side rather than being lifted from behind. So looking a little deeper at the firing pin mechanism, you can see in some of these different filing images here that I've taken from the filings, how this all goes together. In the front, we've got our toolless jam clearance. And in this specific example, we've got a single-toothed firing pin being lifted on one side of it. But what I think is more notable here is the exhaust port comes out around the front of the tool, which is presumably the part that's going to be farthest from your face. Hopefully you're not using this anywhere near your face and you're using it safely and properly with safety glasses and the like, but the exhaust would be at the lower side of the tool rather than on top like you might find with a pneumatic nailer. Looking a little more, the lifting gears, which is at the heart of how this tool actually works, look like this. You can see there's a little flat spot on the inside of the gear. And then this lifting gear is what I'm going to call it, just to try to put this in as plain English as possible. Then lifts up the firing pin, which then compresses the air inside the cylinder. And then you'll notice there's a locking pin with a wheel at the bottom, combined with that flat spot on the side of the gear, so that when this is triggered, then that wheel comes down the flat side of the gear and then actuates the nailer coming down using the compressed air that's sealed in up above this piston. So then, just for safety and other actuation, there's some other feedback and control systems involved in this tool. There's apparently a built-in alarm, the ability to detect the position of the firing sensor to hopefully prevent accidental misfires or any other problems. So now I want to read a couple of the patent claims for you, taken out of the patent filings. First of all, this is described as a nail gun, serves as a nailing tool. Existing nail gun products on the market may be classified into a mechanical type of nail gun and a cylinder type nail guns according to a mode of principles. In the existing art, the cylinder type nail guns have a complex structure and a relatively large volume and are quite inconvenient for a user to operate. Therefore, how to provide a compact and easy to operate cylinder type nail gun is an urgent technical problem to be solved currently. Continuing on with the patent claims here, the firing pin of the nail gun has a long service life and is convenient to operate. The cylinder may further be configured to be a 2-layer cylinder structure composed of an inner layer cylinder and an outer layer cylinder. So we've got some options with the cylinders here. What I could not find in the patent or among the claims is any talk about lubrication or maintenance that a user may need to perform on a periodic basis to keep the tool in good working order and to make sure that all the seals and gaskets have a long service life. Because I would anticipate that a tool like this might require some service and periodic lubrication to keep the gaskets and O-rings in good working shape. So now onto the brad nailer. That's confirmed. It's an 18-gauge tool, holds 5/8 inch to 2 1/8 inch nails, and you can clearly see that there are some other digital controls. Perhaps that's an on-off lockout mechanism, and the digital control on the right in the panel, I can't quite confirm exactly what that is, if that's something about bump versus sequential, or if it's about a ready to fire. So I'm not really sure what that is. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to see exactly what those two control buttons do on the inside of the tool. So a couple other predictions. In my opinion, I don't think the manufacturer would have went through all the effort to be able to come up with these patents to only use it in one tool. And the fact that we see 3 distinct driving options makes me think that we're going to see some other options coming out, such as a 16-gauge finish nailer, a narrow crown stapler, maybe there's a framing nailer, maybe a roofing nailer, maybe a micro pin nailer, maybe something else. I'm not really sure, but I think these are the most likely ones that we'll see, and then anything beyond that might be further out. So I would anticipate that at launch, or pretty close to it, we'll have the brad nailer, a finish nailer, and a narrow crown stapler. And in my opinion, that probably covers about 90% of the jobs that you would use a nailer for. Obviously, there's going to be others. If you're a framer, I know you're going to complain and say, no, I use a nail gun all day. Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure the Cobalt line is intended for professional framers. I know DeWalt's got some options for that. It'd be great if they had one that was a structural framing nailer. That'd be great. I don't think we're going to see that right away if we see that at all coming out. Just my opinion. I'm just some guy on the internet. What do I know? So with that, thanks for watching. If you got any other questions, comments, or want to talk about this further, put it down in the comments below. Hopefully in the coming days and weeks ahead, we'll learn a little bit more about this tool. And if you like great content like this, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day. Bye.